Broadcasting from the Professional Fantasy Football League studios in Marina Del Rey, California, I'm your host, John Hampton. This is PFFL Live. Welcome, everyone, to the Thursday matchup preview episode of PFFL Live. We are now in Week 6. This week in the NFL, we start to enter the heavy bye weeks where all of you PFFL players are going to have to do some scrambling to replace the players with the week off. This week, all the players from Carolina, Chicago, Jacksonville, and New Orleans need to be taken out of the lineups. So make sure and do that. You don't want to be that guy. Listen, folks, if you like this show, check out some of the other shows on PFFL Radio, like Josh Martin's, for example. He'll tell you who to grab off free agency or even who to start from your bench. He's got some great shows helping you fine-tune your lineup, and we all need that kind of help because we're nearing the halfway point of the season for fantasy. So this is when those teams teetering on success really have a chance to shine. The NFL has two undefeated teams in the Atlanta Falcons and the Houston Texans. Statistics say both these teams now have over a 90% chance of being in the playoffs starting 5-0. The Falcons sure have an easier week this week versus Oakland, while the Texans have more of a challenge against a disgruntled Green Bay Packers. Another big matchup this week is in the NFC and could be a foreshadowing for an NFC playoff matchup later this year. The 49ers versus the New York Giants. Let me be clear. I'm a Niners fan, so hopefully Kyle Williams doesn't fumble 2 returns this game. I definitely think this will be the 49ers' biggest challenge so far this year. So in this big Week 6, let's take a look at some of the biggest matchups around the PFFL. We'll go ahead and start off with the Matchup of the Week. In Tier 1, we have last year's PFFL champ, the Renton Rain Dogs versus Tier 1 Imports in a battle of epic proportions. The Rain Dogs, in an attempt to defend their title, will be taking on the only undefeated team in Tier 1. This week, he's starting Flacco, which has got to be nerve-wracking week in and week out. But he also has Torrey Smith, which can make this a boom-bust situation pretty easily against the struggling Dallas team. He also has 2 guys I'm not big on starting this week in his lineup, LeGarrette Blount and Randall Cobb. If he starts both these dudes, I think his odds of winning this matchup drop heavily. If I were him, I would definitely throw in Kendall Hunter and Sidney Rice instead. Tier 1 Imports are the real deal this year, starting 5-0 and number 1 in Tier 1, in a large part thanks to RG3, which will make this week interesting after his concussion last week facing a tough Vikings defense. His running backs are very solid. As of right now, he's 1 player short, though, at wide receiver. I'm guessing he'll either put Garcon in, or maybe he's working for a last-minute trade. I'm gonna make a bold choice here in the matchup of the week and predict that Tier 1 Imports takes its first loss against the Renton Rain Dogs. Let's now jump down to Tier 3G, as in Gangster, for a matchup between Team Monkey and I Will Crush You, with 2 teams looking to break out down the stretch. Team Monkey's got a pretty solid lineup, but he doesn't look to be making any moves in free agency or even in his starting and sitting, and his bench is completely useless. I really like Antonio Brown as a wide receiver, but it just seems like the guy can never get in the end zone because of their other options. It was the same last year when he had over 1,000 yards receiving and only 2 touchdowns. I could also see Crabtree having another solid week, as the Niners will have to air it out a little bit against the Giants. I Will Crush You is in good shape. He had a shaky start to the year, but this die-hard football fan knows his shit. With Ryan Matthews re-entering fantasy relevance and Percy Harvin continuing to show off his athletic ability, he will really challenge Team Monkey this week. It'll be interesting to see if Hartline can prove that his huge week a few back was not a one-hit wonder against the Rams. Both teams are starting New England tight ends, so I think that might be the determining factor against the stingy Seahawks defense, as only one of those guys will have enough room to put up the points. I'm going to give the edge to I Will Crush You because of his wide receivers for now. On to Tier 3K, we will feature the number 1 power-ranked player in the PFFL, Dancing Chubtoads, a.k.a. Roseanne Mills, wife of the PFFL midwife, Colin Mills, and an absolute monster this year versus Coach T. The Chubtoads have a stacked team. The only starting player she has that I don't like is Tony Romo. Let's see if he can get his act together this week. Other than that, she has debatably 2 of the best wide receivers in the league, along with 3 solid running backs and Gronk at tight end. You go, girl. Coach T has a challenge this week and will need to really put up a fight to take the win here. Ponder versus the Redskins is an interesting matchup. I could see him having a big week. Luckily, the next 3 guys in his lineup are his safety net: Lynch, Turner, and Roddy White. Look for all these guys to have solid weeks. If Decker and Austin can step up and put up points, then Coach T has a shot against the big-time player. Obviously, it's not tough to side with the Chubtoads and her yoked team, but I think Coach T has a good shot at taking her down this week and should be her biggest challenge yet. We'll end this broadcast by going back and checking in with the Dirty Dale Firehouse League. We have a great matchup with 2 3-2 teams, Team Alliance versus Team Blackout. Alliance sporting Matt Schaub in place of Drew Brees seems to be one of the most active guys in his league, getting some great waiver pickups such as Alfred Morris. Ben Jarvis Green Ellis has been a disappointment the past couple weeks, but hopefully for his owners this week he'll score some points against the struggling Browns. Also look for Ahmad Bradshaw to be challenged against the Niners defense. I like Blackout's team a lot. I'm really surprised he's only 3-2. He's got Peyton, who's been playing excellent since his week 2. Reggie Wayne, who may have been the steal of the draft this year, who's getting 15-plus targets every week and proving he's still got game, will be challenged this week against Crow Marty, who has been a very hot corner, shutting down Andre Johnson on Monday night. This is going to be a very close matchup, but I see Blackout taking down the Alliance. Well, PFFL fans, that's it for your Week 6 previews. I'm John Hampton. Be sure to tune in Saturday for the PFFL Live breaking news and injury updates, and check out all the other content we're pushing out of the PFFL Facebook page and on our website. We're looking to have at least one show a day moving forward. As always, you can reach me at RealJohnHampton on Twitter. And as always, you can find more stats, updates, tips, and everything else you need to know at the PFFL.com. This has been a presentation of the PFFL.com.